So the Michigan Wolverines feeling pretty good about themselves as we welcome in Anthony Bellino, as you see him every morning right here on BCSN at the X's and Bros show. And Anthony, thank you for joining us tonight.
Mark, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for having me once again.
So we saw another beat down by the Wolverines, just as you predicted last week. J.J. McCarthy didn't quite have the 6 touchdowns you called for, but he looked very, very good. Good enough that Jim Harbaugh has anointed him the starter going forward. I don't think there's much argument when you look at the pure numbers between J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara that McCarthy has earned it through 2 games.
Yeah, he most definitely has. And it was a, they also, Michigan did punt as well in the football game, which I believe I told you last week that they wouldn't punt and they should not have punted. And I was very mad when I saw it because I thought of you, Mark, standing there on the sidelines on Saturday night after the weather delay. But when we look specifically at this game and at the quarterback battle that was taking place between J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara, JJ did exactly what I think many people thought he was going to do, which is walk in there and look like a Heisman candidate. That's what he did. I mean, he has such an ability to extend the field with his throwing ability. And it's something that, Cade McNamara just doesn't have. That arm strength is just different for JJ McCarthy. I'm not saying that Cade's is bad or anything of that nature, but JJ's he has a superior arm. He also, with his ability to run, and we didn't see that a whole lot, and rightfully so, against Hawaii, his legs present another threat that defenses will have to take into account for. He was 11 of 12 for 229 and 3 touchdowns. The guy was an absolute machine. He threaded one down the middle of the field that looked like it went about 70 yards in the air. It looked like a punt when he threw it because it was like, holy mackerel, look at that thing. And then sure enough, receiver on the other end, it's a catch. It's 1st and 10 inside the 10. Everybody's feeling good about life at that point. And that was really the throw to me that this is why J.J. McCarthy will be the starting quarterback moving forward. Now, if you don't mind, if I can derail this conversation for just a second, Cade McNamara and what he did for the University of Michigan as the quarterback, winning a Big Ten championship, beating Ohio State, getting Michigan to the college football playoff, right? 3 massive things on the to-do list that were checked off last year for Jim Harbaugh, for the team, for the entire franchise as a whole, for all of the fans. It was massively important because JJ McCarthy might give them the better option to win moving forward. And rightfully, he does. It's not a might. He does give them the better opportunity. And it will be a better, I think, situation to have one quarterback playing the entirety of the football game, unless, something bad were to happen. See Texas versus Alabama. You can never have too many qualified people. This is where having 2 quarterbacks is a good thing. I think that J.J. McCarthy showcased himself in a way that puts him, leaps and bounds, head and shoulders above where Cade McNamara is at as a quarterback. But that doesn't mean that people have to, disregard or disrespect Cade McNamara. I didn't appreciate the booing that I heard. I didn't like the chants of, we want JJ, or we want, they were cheering for Alex Orgy when Cade McNamara was going in the game. I thought that was just inappropriate. It was unnecessary. Cade's done a lot. He really set the table for where Michigan is going moving forward. We know, we're not that far removed from the Joe Milton era, if you will. So what Cade McNamara was able to do at Michigan, and who knows what he'll still be asked to do now moving forward with the Maize and Blue. But I think it needs to be appreciated. I think it needs to be respected. And I think the fans can probably leave him alone when they do attend games. Cheer for the guy who's under center. Doesn't matter who it is. Support your team. I'm fine with that. Remember, Cade McNamara is what, 21, 22 years old? What were you doing at 21 or 22? Let's all take a deep breath.
And Cade McNamara is still one of the captains of this Michigan team. And that was one of the points made by the Wolverines after the game, as well as on Monday during media availability. They still support Cade. He's still a valuable member of the team, still a leader of the team. So they've got his back regardless of what his future may hold with the Wolverines.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting now to kind of follow and see where Cade McNamara ends up and what he, ends up wanting to do. If it becomes a situation where, unlike last year, where they're rotating quarterbacks all throughout the season, all throughout games, because, look back to Michigan State, if Cade McNamara plays that entire game, maybe JJ doesn't fumble that football because he doesn't have the opportunity. So maybe there's no fumble. Maybe Michigan goes on to win. Butterfly effect. What happens on from that point forward, we don't really know. But maybe it'll be beneficial just to have one guy taking all the snaps in all the games, and maybe there'll be some cleanup duty, in some fourth quarters moving forward here. But what will Cade McNamara decide to do? It's something we talked a lot about Monday morning as you start to look at it. When you're speaking to your kids, little people, little problems, bigger people, bigger problems, right? There could be a lot worse issues to be facing right now than whether or not you're going to be the starting quarterback at the University of Michigan. There are plenty of other people going through a lot of other real world circumstances that are a lot more challenging. So I think that when, if you're able to keep things in perspective, take a step back, view it from the outside, take that deep breath, really finish out this season strong in whatever that role may be. If I was Cade's parent, if I was his dad, this is exactly what I would tell him. Whatever your role is, do it for one more day, right? One day at a time. Do it for one more day. Play out the rest of the season, however it plays out, and whether you're carrying the clipboard or if something bad happens and your number gets called again and they have to go back to you, that's perfectly fine. Right now, you play for Michigan, you're a representative of their university. If you decide that you want to go somewhere else where you can find some playing time at the end of the year, sure, then that's the route that he wants to take. And in the new world of college athletics, we see it happen all the time. He's got eligibility remaining. So I think that would be kind of a good route to go, to be something that we'll definitely keep our eyes on, though.
Yeah, I think if Cade kind of rides this out, he can be a folk hero in Michigan for the rest of his life. Depends upon what he does next, but that's a decision he needs to make on his own and weigh his own options. Let's talk about this Michigan defense. I suppose if you want to nitpick, they haven't created many takeaways. That's about all you can say bad about the Michigan defense thus far.
Yeah, once again, I mean, I did think that, okay, only one sack. How about my guy, Mike Morris? Boy, is he a monstrous human being down there on the sidelines. My goodness. Hawaii did a good job of getting the football out and doing so very, very quickly. They just, not only did they get the football out of the quarterback's hands, but they also got out of the punter's foot as well. It's a defense that's flying around, making a lot of plays. Would you like to see the interception number go up? Absolutely you would. You'd like to see some turnovers get created, but it's the offensive responsibility to take care of the football, right? It's not one of those things that you necessarily, go out there like, hey, we're going to throw a pick today, right? It's just not something that you do. No turnovers for them, but still the defense flying around, defense making a lot of plays. They're hitting, they're tackling in bunches. I think that that's one of the things that when I watch teams like Alabama, or for a local tie, Toledo Central Catholic, look for the amount of jerseys that are surrounding the football on defensive plays, right? If you have a lot of hats to the football, your guys are all over the field. They're tracking the ball well. They're getting off their blocks. Michigan's doing an excellent job of that. Very, very happy. Don't think that they necessarily need a Hawaii touchdown there at the end. Could have kept them off the scoreboard, but hey, that's neither here nor there. I'm sure that 10 points in total for Hawaii, that affected a lot more people's outcome on Saturday night than it did for others, in the words of Brent Musburger.
And Jim Harbaugh pointed out they still won the second half, outscoring Hawaii, I think 17-10 in the second half, as that's the way they looked at it at halftime. This is a new game. We still need to win the second half, and they did so. UConn comes into the Big House on Saturday. This should be another blowout, a Husky program that hasn't beat an FBS team since 2019. Granted, they didn't play at all in 2020. Their only win last year was against Yale. They beat Central Connecticut State earlier this season. This should be another blowout for the Wolverines.
It really should be, and it's another opportunity for J.J. McCarthy to go showcase himself. But here's an interesting wrinkle. It's something that I think that we should all be taking a look at, is the play of C.J. Stokes, the running back, right? I mean, we all kind of assume, obviously, Blake Corum's the lead dog, and Donovan Edwards is kind of the guy that we thought, because of what we saw from him last year, that, okay, that would be the legitimate number two. Well, C.J. Stokes, just a 5'10" freshman from Columbia, South Carolina, I thought he really ran the football very, very well in the last game. I think that he is somebody that you are going to want to watch. If you see 23 out there in the backfield, you only got, you got 6 touches in the first game. You got 8 attempts against Hawaii. I think he's running hard. I think he's running with purpose. And I think that Michigan might have a really nice option there as a freshman, CJ Stokes, number 23. Keep your eyes out on him. I think we're going to see more and hear more of him in the near future.
Particularly since Donovan Edwards may be a little banged up. Jim Harbaugh very non-committal about Edwards' health going forward on Monday. So that's another reason why we might see Stokes more. And we're seeing quite a few freshmen play for Michigan this year, and that's a good thing because they're not necessarily in a starring role. They're in a supporting role, but it shows the strength of the recruiting class that, quite frankly, a lot of people have taken some hits against Michigan's recruiting, but you see a Mason Graham coming in right away and making an impact. So maybe the kids are all right in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I really think so, and I like the fact that what you just mentioned there about the young guys being in supporting roles, right? We don't need you to come out here and be a star and be on the field every snap of every possession, right? That's not what we're asking you to do. Rely on your senior leadership, take their guidance. But when you call your number, you mentioned Graham on the defensive side. I mean, he's been, lights out. I mean, you see a freshman, dominating offensive lineman the way that he did on Saturday night. That's very impressive. But I think that it really bodes well for the strength of the younger guys to be able to get in there in those supporting roles, not being asked to do too much. Give it to them in doses, right? Allow them to get their feet under them instead of just throwing them right in the deep end with no floaties on. I like this, and I really think that in recruiting classes, we know that the 4 and the 5 stars matter, right? You start to take a look at the SEC and the Sun Belt region as a whole. They're producing the most 4 and 5 star athletes. The most 5-star athletes, they end up going to Alabama. They go to Georgia. Look what happens to those kids. They end up getting drafted, right? The recruiting stars do matter to a certain extent, but there's a portion of this that is also very important as well, and that is the guys that are the 3-star and lower. Who's the diamond in the rough? Who did you find? Where did he come from? Why was he under recruited? What did you see in that young man? And then how did you develop him? I think that says a lot more about a coaching staff than saying, yeah, we recruited a 5-star athlete, we threw him on the field, and what did he do? He did exactly what he does. He's a 5-star athlete. How do you maintain, develop, and allow those 3-star guys to really expand in their college career? I thought that that's what Michigan State did so well under D'Antoni, is the fact that, look, they had all of these 3-star guys that became NFL players because they were developed well. So that's a really good sign when you have, some younger guys that are getting their opportunities, younger guys that maybe don't come in with all that, 5-star, oh my God, look at this guy. But at the same time, you're taking your time and developing these young people, and then we see where they're at in 2, 3, 4 years down the road. It's like, hey, look, that draft class, that really wasn't so bad now, was it?
All right, thank you very much, Anthony Bellino, as Michigan will look to improve to 19-0 under Jim Harbaugh against non-conference opponents at the Big House. Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you, my friend.